First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today and to give you a brief presentation on the Danish efforts within innovative public procurement. As Tanya said before, the Danish Business Innovation Fund do also support new business, green business models, but I'll be brief here today because the time is running, so I think I will concentrate on the main focus and only speak about the innovative public procurement. So, first of all, I will bring you through a short introduction to the Business Innovation Fund. What do we do? Then I'll give you some arguments why I think the time is right now for not only focusing on supply-driven innovation through typical R&D activities, but also focus on demand-driven innovation through public procurement. After that, I'll give you a very short presentation of some of the initiatives that we have been taking within the Business Innovation Fund to stimulate innovative public procurement. So, first of all, brief facts about the Business Innovation Fund. The Business Innovation Fund is a part of a political agreement made by the Danish government and the opposition back in November 2009. The politicians decided to allocate 760 million Danish crowns in total in the period from 2010 to 2012. It was in a period of economic crisis, and the economic crisis hit Denmark quite hardly, like in many other countries. So we were supposed to stimulate the creation of growth, employment, and exports from Danish companies. That's our main objective. An independent board of directors was chosen. It was directors from Danish companies. And the reason why we picked directors from Danish companies was that they should secure that the focus of the fund would be commercializing of Danish innovations and not being stimulating further R&D activities. Until now, we have got a lot of applications from Danish companies, as you can see, and at the slide, we have got more than 400 applications, and we have supported 91 projects so far. As you also can see, we have invested mostly in green growth, new green solutions, but we've also invested quite a bit in welfare technologies. One thing that's special about the Business Innovation Fund is a very clear focus on SMEs. As you see, 83% of all the companies that we have supported have less than 50 employees. Actually, half of the companies that we have supported have less than 10 employees. So we're quite an entrepreneurship fund. Denmark, of course, have a lot of other funds than us, and they're focusing mostly on R&D activities. So we're supposed to do something else. We're supposed to close the funding gap, you could say, from the proof of concept state of new products and services to the market introduction. That's what we call market maturation. Market maturation can be made from both the demand side and from the supply side. I will focus mostly about what we do to supply to the demand side. Okay, but why focusing on the demand side of innovation? Well, if you look at the graph just on the screen here, you can see what I told you about before, that the economic crisis hit the Danish economy quite hard, like it did in many other countries. You can see the growth stopped, the structural balance shifted from a good surplus, about 2% a year of GDP, to a deficit among the same size. The Danish government have taken some initiatives until now and will take some further on to make sure that we got balance again in the public budgets in Denmark. But I don't think we should suspect that growth and innovation in the future, in the near future, will be supported by increased government spending and funding of new business-oriented grant schemes. So what we have to do is actually use the money that we already are using in the government in a smarter way. If you look at the total budget for Danish, for the public sector's annual procurement budget, it's around 290 billion Danish crowns. Or said in another way, it's 16% of the Danish GDP. If you compare to the Danish budget on R&D, that is 1% of GDP, you can see how enormous impact it could have on the Danish economy if we use the public demand as a driver for innovation. So, what we are looking for here is to ensure what we call the double bottom line. First of all, we want to make sure that the public sector become more effective, and that is because we are introducing new solutions that could make everything more effective. Next, of course, we want to encourage the development and market introduction of new solutions for Danish companies. And we think the right way to do it is to create public-private innovation partnerships through strengthening of intelligent demand. Okay, but Denmark is of course not the only country in the world who's seen that this is a good point. That there's a lot to gain from stimulating innovation from the demand side. As you can see here, many other countries and people are doing just the same. The European Commission, United Kingdom, Finland, Sweden, and a lot of other countries are for the time being experimenting quite a bit with demand-driven innovation through public procurement. So I will not go through every of these initiatives, but my point will only be that this is a part of an international trend. Okay, but you could say then, if it's such a good idea, why doesn't it just happen by its own? Why do we need special initiatives? Well, the short answer to this question is, of course, that it's easier to say than it's easier to do. It's difficult. And that's have to do with the ways that the public sector is managed mostly. I have picked out three arguments here that could pinpoint why it's that difficult. The first one is the lack of what we call strategic focus. Procurement is traditionally used as a tool for buying very specific problems in the public sector. It's not been seen as a tool of change. So the civil servants have to change their views on procurement. Second point, the lack of connection to processes. Often procurement is seen as a process that's not involved in the process of producing the public goods. But if we have to create the effects to make a more effective public sector, of course we have to calculate business cases with cost of total cost of ownership. We have to look at the possibilities of optimizing resources, getting smoother workflows, and so on. If we do not do that, I think we will not have a positive business case in investing in new innovative solutions, because they're often more expensive than the older ones. The last point here is the lack of incentives. Rules and regulation are often interpreted very strict, and for public services, civil servants, it's often better to be safe than to be sorry. So it's important to create incentives for the civil servants to act proactively in this manner. I think that's one of the reasons that explains why we see more and more tenders with very clear specifications instead of the use of functional requirements that could open up for innovation. Okay, but what's our approach then to innovative procurement? Well, I have again found 4 points here for you. The first one is that we are trying to focusing on areas with the public sector where they're going to make major investments in the years to come. We have to play with the big budgets, not the small ones. So this could be topics like climate change, elderly care. It could be other kinds of the environmental agenda. What we try to do is then to create and fund partnerships between the public purchases and the private companies to ensure that public investments become a driver for innovation. What we do is we make a strategic choice of public partners. We do not want to work with municipalities that's not ready for change. And some of them are not, I could tell you. So we're trying to do what we call create the coalition of the willing, to set the good examples. Then the last point, we think it's very important to experiment with different methods. As I told you before, a lot of other countries than Denmark are experimenting for the time being, and there's not been established a good best practice, or what you could say, until now. So it's very, very important to try different things. And different things, different ways to procure can be effective in Denmark, and something else could be effective in Iceland. Okay, now I have given you a short introduction to what the Business Innovation Fund is all about, and I've also given you a short explanation for why we are focusing on demand-driven innovation. Now I'll go to the more concrete part of my presentation and present you with some of the initiatives that we have taken. I will present you with 3 ones. The first one is a grant scheme we have made to support procurement of innovative solutions in the welfare sector. The next one is a partnership for health and medical innovation. And the third part is a partnership for adaptation to climate change. The first one is the grant scheme for the procurement of innovative solutions in the welfare sector. The purpose for us here is, of course, to get the persons in the public sector who procures new solutions to use new tools to open up for innovation when they are procuring. What we're doing here is that we are giving grants not for the products. We are not giving price cuts. What we're doing, we are supporting you could say the innovative processing around the acquisitions. So what are we supporting? Well, we're supporting the market analysis. We are supporting establishing an overview of needs and baselines. We are supporting draft procurement, inclusive functional requirements, validations of offers, including business cases and so on. This is because this is very difficult for the public sector to do these things, and it's expensive to procure in a new way. So we have to support them in doing it to make sure that they are not doing it wrong, or that they are not doing it at all because it's expensive. This initiative we've been taking have been inspired from a similar initiative taken by Tekis in Finland for a couple of years ago. The time is running. I have prepared a few cases for you. I think I will run them very quickly through so you know them, but not go into any details. One of the projects we have supported within this grant scheme is the purchase of a virtual reception. It's the local authority of the city of Skanderborg who is procuring a new reception in its elderly care homes. The point is that the reception has to make it easier and less resource demanding for the caregivers to meet and guide visiting family members and others that comes to the elderly homes. We don't know yet how the reception will be managed and how it will will look when the project is over, but that's the part of the project that we do not have to know the solution at the start. The next one is a concept of hospital catering. It's the region of southern Denmark who is procuring for a concept that, that combines the wishes of the patients and the needs according to the patient's records. For example, in regard to how much calories they are able to intake. Okay, this is of course a pilot product for us, so it's very important for us that we evaluate, and we'll do that in the early 2013. We want, of course, to see if the usage of functional requirements in public tenders in Denmark really opens up for innovation and create possibilities for growth in Danish companies. So we're looking forward to see what the evaluation will bring us. Next, I will give you a short presentation on our partnership for health and medical innovation. In the coming years, in Denmark, we'll invest more than 40 billion Danish crowns in new and better hospitals all over the country. We, of course, see this as a good opportunity for Danish companies. So we of course, want to accelerate the development and market maturation of modern Danish health and medical solutions. The goal is to create new business opportunities for Danish companies on one side, and on the other side, make sure that we do not develop local solutions to national or global challenges. It's very important to us that the products we support have a global perspective, and there's scalability for the Danish companies who's involved in the projects. So we have taken the initiative to found the partnership, and the partnership is between the Danish Business Innovation Fund and the 5 Danish regions. The Danish regions is those who run the hospitals in Denmark. So what we're doing, we're trying to identifying common challenges and pooling demand for the new solutions. As you can see at the illustration, then we have separated the development phase from the procurement phase. This is mostly due to the EU rules on state aid on public procurement. But what we do is we want to send a clear message to the market that we want to procure solutions on specific problems. So it's not the tenders that we use in this partnership to stimulate innovation. We use the tenders to stimulate innovation in another partnership that I will give you a short presentation on in a moment. But we have allocated 100 million Danish crowns in the Business Innovation Fund together with funds in the Danish regions to make this happening. But what is the partnership focusing on then? We have announced now that we want to support development of innovative solution within 3 focus areas in 2012. The first one is hospital-acquired infections and hygiene. This is due to the fact that 3,000 Danes die every year in Danish hospitals due to infections. We must do this better. And this is not only a Danish problem. In fact, it's the same we see in every hospital all over the world. So there's a great potential for those companies who can fix this problem. The next thing we want to have solutions on is logistics and traceability. And that's due to the daily handling of large amounts of patients, equipment, and so on in the hospital that creates the need for optimal planning, management of transportations, and so on. The third thing is telemedicine and self-reliance. It's of course important because we see an increasing number of patients with long-term and chronic illnesses, and we have a growing need for aftercare and rehabilitation at home. So that's one of the things we're looking for as well. In 2013, we'll announce 3 other areas that we'll focus on. And the goal for us is to develop new solutions on the listed problems here within 3 to 5 years, so they can be procured by the new Danish hospitals. Okay, the last partnership I will give you a brief introduction to is the partnership for adaptation to climate change. The Danish government has decided that every Danish municipality must have a strategy for adaptation to climate change ready to implement within the next 2 years. We expect, of course, that this will stimulate the demand a lot for new innovations and new solutions in the years to come. So that's why we have taken the initiative to create this partnership. The goal for the partnership is, of course, to develop new innovative solutions, and it will mostly be within rain and wastewater management, because that is one of the big challenges of adaptation to climate change in Denmark. We, of course, also want to create jobs, growth and exports for Danish companies, and reduce at the same time the risk for the municipalities in buying the new innovative solutions. So, how do we do it? Well, this time we have formed the partnership between the municipalities and the utility wastewater companies from across Denmark. Again, we are trying to identify common challenges and pooling the demand. This time we use the tender as the base for stimulating innovation. We use functional requirements in the tenders, and then we hope to combine innovation and acquisition. We have used 30 million Danish crowns from the Business Innovation Fund to support this project, and the municipalities and the utility companies are ready to buy the developed solutions if they satisfy the requirements in the tenders. Okay. As my closing remarks, I will, of course, try to give you a short answer to what's next. In Denmark, we got a new government half a year ago, and in their government platform at Denmark that stands together, they have announced that it will come with a national strategy for intelligent public demand in the fall. We're looking very much forward to that. And that's because the Danish government see a great potential of using demand so that it can promote innovation in both public and private sectors, and at the same time create a more effective government and public service. So my point here will be that the Danish efforts within innovative public procurement are likely to be further strengthened in the years to come. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for your time.